Hi and welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Mathilde, I'm a French knitter, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. So as you can see, I'm in a bit of a different location because my cat is actually asleep on the chair I usually film my podcast in. He's really cute, I didn't want to bother him, so I'm right next to the chair on my bed and we're gonna go through my current whips. In this podcast, I don't have any FOs and I don't have any acquisitions, so we're just gonna go through my current whips, the updates that I've got to share with you, what I've done over the past 2 weeks, and what I'm hoping to achieve in the next 2 weeks. Now, before we get into that, let me just share what I'm wearing, which is my jacket number 2. This is a pattern by My Favourite Things Knitwear. I knitted it over a year ago. I can't remember exactly when, but I think it was a knit from last year, I think. And I knitted it in Jensen and silk mohair by Isager. I think the Jensen was color like E0, something like that, but everything will be linked down below. And the silk mohair was the number 6, so it's not like the stark white mohair, it's like a blush creamy mohair. I like this knit, but it's very oversized. I think I've got like 40 centimeters of positive ease, so it ended up with just a tiny bit more positive ease than what I intended, so it's not my absolute favorite, but I love the cables. Okay, so let me share what I've been working on. Maybe we can start with, and I don't think I'm gonna go through like the order that I usually like to stick to, which is like oldest whip to newest whip, because I can't quite remember the order. I think the oldest is the girl dress, so let's maybe talk about that one. And I think that it's the only whip that I've got like the most update to share, kind of, but let's talk about it. So I am currently knitting the girl dress by VertKnit, which is a gorgeous pattern. I've talked about it a lot before, so I'm not going to go too in detail about the construction of it, but I am knitting it in Knitting 4-Leaf Pure Silk. That's not Knitting 4-Leaf Pure Silk. Knitting 4-Leaf Pure Silk in the colorway Olive. And this is 100% burette silk. It's 250 meters per 50 grams. I've got a lot of yarns from this to knit this dress, and I've just started a new skein on the whip. So I think I've got maybe 3 skeins used already, which is not that much, but obviously as I'm gonna go through the skirt or knit through the skirt more and more, I'm gonna use more and more yarn, but I've got a lot of ends to weave in. This is how it's looking. So this is the top and then this is the skirt. Obviously it's looking a bit rumpled, frumpled, whatever the word is, because it's like always kind of tucked inside my project bag, but this is how much I got done since last time. So hopefully you can see that stitch marker here. And I've done about 11-12 centimeters on the skirt, which is pretty good going. As you probably know if you've seen this podcast before, this girl dress is knit on 3mm needles and takes a while obviously, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with that progress. That's like a bit over 2 weeks of progress. Now here's the thing, I've just calculated how many centimeters I'm supposed to get done each week before my kind of deadline. So let's talk about that. The pattern gives you like quite clear instructions. It's not really instructions, but like a guideline of how long the skirt is supposed to be for each size. I think it's for all the sizes, it's the same amount of centimeters, but she said from the waistline until the bottom of the skirt, she kind of intended it to be 80 centimeter long. I think that's when you're not wearing it, and then when you're wearing it, it's supposed to be 84 centimeter, I guess, because it's kind of dropping when you're like holding it up or wearing it on you, whereas when you're calculating it flat, measuring it when it's laying down on the floor, it's shorter. So I've calculated that I need, if I want to do that length, which I think I do, maybe I'll have a bit less centimeters because I'm quite a bit short, but I think the designer is also not that tall, to be honest. But yeah, let's say I've got to do 8 centimeter on the skirt, so that's from the hem to the floor basically, or to the ankles. I've already done 31 centimeter, I think, so that leaves me about 49 centimeters left to do. And I need, or like, I'm knitting this dress for a wedding that I am attending early September, but I would like to finish the skirt by the end of July, because that will leave me a month left to do the back panels, because I'm gonna add more coverage for the back, because right now this is just like an open back. I want to add triangles like the fronts, but smaller on the back. And then I also, obviously, I'm gonna have to block it, add the straps for to hold it up, and also I think the hem will be done in the last month before the wedding. So it also kind of leaves me time in case I don't finish it by the end of July. It still gives me a month to finish the skirt and then do all of those other things that I mentioned. Now, if I want to finish the skirt by the end of July, it means I've got 49 centimeters to do. And so I've divided that by 7 or 8 weeks, can't remember. Let me get my phone because I've calculated that yesterday. Okay, so if I want to do 49 centimeters in 8 weeks, I need to do 6.1 centimeters per week. Now, as I said, I did about 12 centimeters in 2 weeks, so that seems doable, but also I'm going to have more and more stitches as it goes, because as I mentioned previously, you're increasing stitches along 4 points on the skirts, so you end up with a bit more stitches as the time goes. The increases are not that often, but still I'm getting more and more stitches on my needles, and so I guess it's going to take me a bit longer each time. Now I've calculated, right now I'm at about 16-17 minutes per round, so it's time consuming. So I think this needs to be my main focus, which it kind of has been those past 2 weeks. So this is why this is the pattern has got the most done over the past 2 weeks. We'll see how that goes. I also need to update the vlog on this to let them know how it's going. But I'm so happy with it. I haven't tried it on since I did that. So I'm gonna move the marker down so that we can see each podcast if I'm reaching my goal or not. And I think I'll leave off trying it on until a bit later, probably next podcast, because I don't think there's that much difference. Like 12 centimeters may seem like a lot, but for this dress it's really not that much. I said in the last podcast I was really excited to keep working on this. I could see the progress. I have to admit now it's harder for me to see the progress, even though I had that stitch marker, which really helped, and that's also why I'm doing it now. I think it's good to have that visual. I feel like if I try this on, it's just gonna look like it's at the same point as it was 2 weeks ago, so that's why I'm not trying it on. But yeah, I mean, it's looking gorgeous either way. But let's move on to the next whip. The other one I've got quite a bit of progress to share is the Cove Sweater, which is a test knit I'm doing for the Knit Purl Girl, or Sophie Hemmings. This is a pattern that is already out, but she's doing an update to it with quite a big difference in the numbers and maybe the shaping as well. So I'm test knitting that update. So again, I've shared it in the last couple of podcasts, but I've managed to finish the first sleeve, which is really exciting. Again, it's looking really frumpy, but I think I'll try it on afterwards to share it with you. So I had already finished the body last time and I had started the sleeve, and I've since managed to finish it. So let me share about the yarn first, and then I'll talk about the construction again. So I'm knitting this in a yarn that I bought when I was in Japan 2 years ago now. So this is Stroll by Amarisu in the colorway Midnight. This is a DK weight 100% superwash merino wool yarn, and it's really squishy. I'm really happy with it. This is 228 meters per 100 gram, and I'm pairing it with Onling number 10, which is their silk mohair in the colorway 0469, and this is 70% super kid mohair, 30% silk, and it's 210 meters per 25 grams. Yeah, I really like this combination. I think it's going to be really soft, really warm, and it's my first time using 100% superwash merino wool for myself, so I'm excited to see how that wears over time. So this is a drop shoulder construction. You've got increases along the shoulders, so you pick up stitches for each shoulder panels. You've got increases along the neckline, then it's a 2x2 ribbed collar, which is really squishy. And then for the sleeve, you pick up stitches. You've got German short shaping, which you can probably tell that I'm wearing out quite a lot. I'm knitting this one using the continental method, and it's still a new to me method, so I've still got trouble getting my tension right on purl rows and or like on wrong side rows versus right side rows. And then at the bottom of the sleeve, you've actually got quite a big number of decreases. So you've got decreases along the arm, but then at the bottom you've got kind of rapid increases, which I think will be clearer when I try it on. And then you've also got 2x2 ribbing at the bottom. For the 2x2 ribbing on the sleeve and the body, I've used the Rook bind off method, which is the recommended bind off in this pattern, which I had never tried before. I don't think it's my preferred way of binding off, but I wanted to try it out. It was in the pattern, so it made sense. But yeah, that's where I'm at, and so I've got the second sleeve left to do. I'm hoping to finish this for the next podcast because one, I've got a lot of whips and it's kind of overwhelming, and because the girl dress is starting to kind of not stress me out, but I'm kind of worried I want to get it done in time. I think it'll be nice to have one less kind of whip. I don't want to say to worry about, because I'm not worrying about it. It's really nice to work on it. I'm excited for the finished piece, but it'll just be one kind of thing, one less thing to think about. Yeah, that's the Cove Sweater, hoping to get it done for the next podcast, but we'll see, no pressure. Next whip is the Zipper Sweater Light Man by Petite, which I'm knitting for myself. I'm using the man version because that's the pattern that I have in my library. I don't have that much progress to share, so I'm just gonna go through this quite quickly. So this is how it's looking so far, and again I've put a stitch marker where I'm at, and this is how much I got done. So I'm on the body and I've done maybe like 6-7 centimeters on the body. Hopefully you could see that stitch marker here. So yeah, I mean, not much to share there. I might try it on again, but probably more likely next podcast. I'm not working on this one too much. It's the knit that I'm grabbing in the mornings because I don't have to like cross off any rows that I'm doing because I'm just knitting on the body. But I think it's going to be taking a bit of a back seat because I've got the girl dress, which is also kind of mindless knitting that I can grab easily and that I've got to finish by a fixed deadline. So there might not be an update for this one in the next podcast because I think it's going to take a back seat. And let's talk about the final whip that I've got on my needles, which is the Marielle Blouse by Marielle's Verden, which I am knitting in Tin Perkin by Sundance in the colorway 1002, and Alpaca 1 Held Double by Isager in the colorway E0. And I haven't talked about the yarn I'm using for the zipper sweater, so let me just share that quickly. I'm using the Fibre company's Cumbria fingering in the colorway Blencathra, and held with a Suri silk Suri lace by Sunday Fibre Company in the colorway Natural Wonder. I've talked about these yarns before, so I'm not going to go through them, but if you're curious about them, check out my other podcasts. So for the Marielle Blouse, I'm still knitting away on the body, and that's where I was last time as well. Oh, it's looking so good. So again, I put a stitch marker to share with you where I'm at, or where I was at, and the progress I've done. So here's the stitch marker. I've done about 2 pattern motifs, and that's about 10 centimeters, I would say, on the body, which is pretty good going. Now I have actually got to try this on because the sleeves are so big, as you can see. I'm not sure I'm gonna do the same amount of pattern motifs as she has done in her sample pictures. So what I did was I calculated the amount of like kind of flower motifs that she has on her sample pictures from the neckline down, and that's what I was intending to do. But because mine is like, this is huge, so yeah, I don't think I want it to be that long, or like as long as that would give me. So I've got to try it on to see, but I think I've either got to do 2 or 3 more pattern motifs before I do the ribbing. And the ribbing on the body and the sleeves is quite short. I think it's only like 2-3 centimeters. So yeah, I've got to figure that out, but yeah, not that much progress. Again, it's not been my priority, but I would like to at least finish the skeins I'm using at the moment, because I've got to order more to be able to finish this piece because I don't have enough. And so I think if by next podcast I can finish that and I can order more, I can then focus on the girl dress, and once those yarns arrive I can get back to this one. But I'm gonna have to order them on 2 different websites, which is kind of annoying. So it probably means I'm gonna order more than just for this, to be completely honest, just for the shipping cost. But we'll see. This pattern, if you don't know, is another drop shoulder beautiful pattern. Again, similarly to the Cove Sweater, you've got increases to do on each row of the back panel to shape the shoulder. Then you complete the back panel, then you've got to pick up stitches for each shoulder, doing increases around the neckline. You've got for this one at the bottom of the front panel some armhole increases that you do not have at the back, and then you pick up stitches for the collar, which is just a 1x1 ribbing, and then you connect the front panel and the back panel together and knit on the body. And I said in the last podcast that I had shortened the front panel by 1 pattern motif because I was already kind of worried that this armhole was going to be too big. Now it's huge even then, but I'm glad I did that. And I think one of you guys recommended to pick up less, like 1 less pattern motif in the sleeve stitches. So let's say you need 80 stitches for the sleeves because you need to do that pattern motif in the sleeves as well, then I'm gonna do that much less picking up stitches for the sleeves, if that makes sense. I think that's what I'm gonna do. We'll see when I get there, but yeah, I'm hoping to finish the body first before I start a sleeve. So we'll see where I'm at next time. Because this one is a bit less mindful, and because I've got that kind of stress about running out of yarn, I'm not working on it as much as I was hoping I would, but yeah. And one last thing that I wanted to talk about is a swatch that I did. I've been sharing how much I've been wanting to cast on a cardigan because I don't have that many cardigans. I think I've got this one, I've got my Knit cardigan, which is a red cardigan. I've got the Celine cardigan, which is another cream white that I absolutely adore. I wear all the time. And then I've got one levitate wrap in a brown that I don't wear that much. And so I'm craving another cardigan, and I've got this yarn in my stash for one. So this is Knitting for Live Merino and Soft Silk Mohair in the colorway Licorice, and I'm gonna make a Maggie cardigan by Petite in this. I've been going through some patterns. I was thinking either the Darcy cardigan by Knit or the Port cardigan by Isager, which are both round neck cardigans that I really love the look of. But I ended up going, or I think I'm gonna end up going for the Maggie cardigan, because one, I've got that pattern in my library already, because I had intended to knit it in a different yarn, which I might get around to one day, we'll see. But also because it's a similar fit to a ready-to-wear cardigan that I wore when I was at my sister's in Paris in April. And I really liked the fit of that, and it was kind of a satin sleeve, something like quite tight. It wasn't a drop shoulder, it was really finished here, but I'm not sure if it was a satin sleeve or a contiguous kind of shoulder construction. But I think the Maggie cardigan is the closest knitting pattern that I could see being the most similar to. So, and I really want a black cardigan because that's really one thing I'm missing in my wardrobe. So I swatched. I don't know when I'll get around to casting this on. As I said, I'm really in the mood to finish my whips and not start too many. I've got two other UFOs that are hibernating, that are garments. One isn't for me, it's a gift knit, but still. So I've got like 6 garment projects on my needles at the moment, and that's a lot for me. I usually kind of like to have one small whip, like a sock or baby knit or something, and then a big garment project on my needles, 2 at most. And yeah, 6 is a lot. And even though some of them are hibernating, they're still kind of in the back of my mind, and I would really like to get back to working on them. So yeah, I thought I would share because I'm sure I'm not the only one feeling like this. Let me know if you're more of a monogamous knitter, or if you're like me and have tons of whips. I think once I'm through with the girl dress, I'll probably try to focus on the other whips and kind of try to work on them more, because yeah, the girl dress just needs my attention at the moment, and that's fine. I'm really loving working on it, but yeah, I'm a bit frustrated because I was hoping to have more finished pieces this year, not necessarily in terms of like productivity, but just because I really want to, or I feel like I'm really getting to know myself and what I like in my knitted piece and what I like in my wardrobe. And so I feel like I've got some gaps to fill in it, like the black cardigan, for example, or the pair of shorts that I've been wanting to design and I've just not had the time or energy to do, and I don't think I'll get around to this summer, which is a bit of a bummer, but yeah, that's just how life is. But yeah, I'm trying to come to terms with me not having that much time to knit, or you know, having to take time off for XYZ reasons. But yeah, I wanted to share because I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels like that sometimes, or I feel like it's always nice to hear how other people are navigating through it, through the crafting that we do. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this quick little update, and I hope to share one with you in 2 weeks. As always, I would love to hear what you've been knitting on, what's watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!